on the left is not me. The guy on the right, the bald guy, is me. If you're listening, we'll explain all of this in just a second as well. But welcome to another edition of Live from My Office. It's a two-parter this week with two important events happening this week. Later on, we're going to talk about some really important breakthroughs going on in regards to treatment of addicts. And I come from a family of addicts, and I am the king of codependency. So we'll talk about that. But first up, something else that touches my heart. For those of you who have listened through the years, you know that I have a special needs brother who's my personal hero. And so does a guy that's about to join us. The concert for Will's Place is back, and I'm honored to introduce the acts and MC, if that's the right word for it. Please welcome Josh from the Empty Pockets with this sitting ovation.
Hello, sir. It is so good to chat with you, as always.
Good to see you, my friend. Let's jump right to the plug, because then I want to talk about the band.
Cool.
Tell everybody who your brother is.
My brother is William. I'm Josh. I grew up in Lincolnwood, and my brother William was adopted when I was 16 years old from Vietnam. And I remember, my mom and I were just reminiscing because William just turned 25. When they handed me William, I was a 16-year-old boy alone with my mom. I don't know why they handed him to me first. I didn't know anything about babies, but I knew this baby was too small for 6 months old.
Sure.
And my mom was determined. It didn't matter. She was bringing this baby home. And we did. And quickly it became clear this baby was William. He was named, was super charming, super locked in socially, but he had disabilities. And William's most obvious disability is he doesn't talk. He's never talked. Mm-hmm. He makes like some noises. And he really turned into this like charming, cool dude that doesn't talk and has some balance issues. And as you know, when you age out of school as an adult with disabilities in the United States, a lot of services, and my mom was just desperate for William to do something meaningful, not necessarily something he loved. So she ended up starting a nonprofit cafe. We called it Will's Place, and Will works there now with 25 other adults with disabilities. Various ages, and we're raising money for it again this year with our concert for Will's Place. I'm very excited.
And that's Thursday night, the 9th. There's not a lot of tickets left, but you can still get them out.
You got to go to North Shore Center of the Performing Arts in Skokie. It's on Ticketmaster. And grab your tickets. It's a great show. We're not gouging prices. Concert tickets have gotten crazy expensive.
They really are crazy. Yeah, they really are.
It's just an act maybe you sort of have heard of is over $100. This show's like $50, $60. Come get a ticket. We're gonna have a lot.
Yeah, and I'd like to tell you that the acts get all the money. Not so much, boys and girls. The ticket brokers, especially the big ones, are criminals. My words, not yours. So the cool thing, because I've been to Will's Place a couple of times, the cool thing is how much the employees love their jobs. Because how many times have you gone into any business and there's a kid behind the counter, relative term, teenager, 20s, 30s even, and they just can't wait to go home, and they're sourpussing it, and they're bitching about working. The folks at Will's Place maximizing their lives every day, and I think it's such a cool thing that your mom and your family have done, and obviously Will as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I so think you're right, even just about restaurants and cafes and places you visit in general. Like, man, does it make a big difference when the people who work there, regardless, just don't want to be there at all.
Right.
Like, when we've traveled in Europe, in general, I feel like the waiters are kind of like happier to be at their gig than like a lot of American side. And there's an element of that at Will's Place, like you said, for sure, where everybody wants to be there. And the staff, almost the entire staff, is at the concert. And last year, the whole staff ended up on stage.
It was so cool. It was great. You know what was great? I got in the way. It was great because I was kind of standing on the side, and a couple of the guys from the cafe came out and said, "Can I stand here?" And I got out of the way. Of course you can. It's your night, man.
Yeah, it ended up there was almost like I didn't expect almost like Academy Award type vibe. Yeah. It was like it was their night. This will be their 3 years in business at Will's Place. You know what they got recently, man? Is it's been all the rage. A soft serve machine. They got a soft serve machine over there.
Whoa!
Did a whole staff training.
And a hot Chicago summer day, that's going to cut into your profits. I picture some sneaking going on there, grabbing a cone or two.
There's definitely Michael, our chef, who's wonderful, and Jeff, who runs it. I have worked there a few times myself helping out, and there's definitely a how many meatballs are you taking with the sandwich for lunch here type
Right,
of.
right, 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 right. It does your heart good. I highly encourage you if you're in the Chicago area to visit Will's place. If you're visiting this summer, to do the same. And obviously, if you're in town this week or in the area, it is Thursday night, the 9th. What time is showtime?
We got doors at 6:30. The show's at 7:30. It's a super cool cast of characters. Joanna Connor is coming. She's just a legendary slide guitar player, Kingston Mines, Chicago
Yep,
Blues
yep.
legend. Lynn Jordan is coming back by popular demand. She was at Blues Fest this year as well. She has this like massive energy. A friend of mine, Mark Stone, is flying in from New Orleans,
Oh, that's
lending
great.
us his time. Super cool vibe. My aunt Deanna, who you've met, is singing, which I love. Very special. You may have seen him if you've ever gone to the Green Mill and seen the paper machete. Chad the Bird is coming.
Oh, wow.
A wonderful by a friend of ours. Josh is a wonderful puppeteer, and so that'll kind of change it up a little bit.
That's
And
cool. I
we'll do
love
a
that.
group finale again. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'll get out of the way again. I promise.
No, please
Um,
stay in the way, please.
I'm trying to get my brother Mickey, who I spoke about a moment ago, is in town, and he's a couple of years older than I am. And bedtime is usually around 7.
Yeah.
And some nights I can really, really, get him to stay up till 7:15. But I'm trying to get him to come out and join us because it'd be fun to introduce him. He has been on stage with me before, telling people what an idiot I am, which is a great joy to him. So it's a lot of fun.
Any brother would enjoy that moment, I
Right,
think.
right.
Yes.
Oh,
I
come on.
think I've seen the Kelsey brothers do something similar.
Sure, of course you have. Uh, and let's talk about the band. You guys had a very cool experience in going back to Abbey Road for the second time
Yeah,
for this
it was
album.
awesome.
Talk about what the album is.
Okay, so we're gonna announce our album in a couple of weeks, but I'll tell you because I'm really excited about it. And it's an album called Dear Billionaires. Our band is called The Empty Pockets, and anybody who knows me personally knows that I've been screaming about this for a long time. There are only about 4,000 billionaires in the whole world,
That's
and
right.
we wrote a little bit of a letter to them in general, and we recorded it like you said, in London when we were on tour at Abbey Road last time, a couple of years ago, we recorded in Studio 3, which was amazing. The Beatles recorded Ticket to Ride there, and Pink Floyd recorded Dark Side of the Moon. This time, we got Studio 2, which is like the Beatles studio, and it's
Right.
pretty unchanged. It's huge. We had a bunch of we call it Epic, our Empty Pockets Insiders Club, our VIPs. A bunch of
Yeah, yeah.
VIPs came. There's so much room in the studio. Everybody could hang out. It was actually kind of and it was our second time, so I didn't expect this. It was very overwhelming, and
But it had to be kind of emotional, I would think.
yeah, it was surreal. And
Yeah,
this kind of funny thing happened. We played these were 12-hour days
sure.
because you really got to get it's you want to get your money's worth in the studio, and it's such an amazing space, and there's such a great crew. And we wanted to record without overdubs, full band together, and so we do half a day, and we're all kind of eh, it's fine.
Really.
Yeah, not the studio, but our playing. We were all,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
you know what? It felt like being the Beatles. We very organically were kind of in the parking lot of Abbey Road, which is a great place to hang because all the tourists are on the other side, and they're like,
Sure.
"Who are these guys? And why are they?" And I think it was our sound guy lights a joint, and we all smoke this joint and go back in, and it was we're not always doing that for every recording, leaning on something, but it was, I don't know, something magical.
Something happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
and we
happened. Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
we really recorded a whole album over just a few days.
That's pretty amazing. And I think the studio you're talking about, isn't that where they did that amazing documentary?
Yeah, it's the
Showing,
main studio there. So they did the
yeah,
documentary. They filmed, um,
it was on
all sorts of
Disney
cool
and
stuff.
Hulu a couple of years ago. I think mostly Disney, but
Exactly.
it's amazing. You see
The,
McCartney
the Mary
noodling.
McCartney doc.
Yeah, and you see McCartney noodling on the piano, trying to figure out what he has when he's playing the piano riff for "Hey Jude."
Yeah, at Abbey Road, they have the exact same policies as they used to. So you are entitled to any gear at Abbey Road. It's
Wow.
just simply first come, first serve. So it's like if you signed up for it first, in fact, there are like sheets from the 60s where the Beatles and the Floyd are basically like fighting over the Mellotron, which is still there because you have to write your name down first, and that's still true. So we're just idiots, and we're so excited to be there. So we're like, we need the Mellotron, we need the Martha My Dear piano, we need the Let It Be piano, we need the organ from Let It Be, and Abbey
Yeah.
Road's policy is just like, all right, and they set that all up, so we had all that stuff.
That's
It was
wild.
crazy. It was crazy.
That's wild. Now, how do you do that with the album? Because liner notes aren't what they were when you did albums. Obviously, you still do vinyl because vinyl's hip again. The kids just discovered it. But there's got to be such tremendous photography just from that session. Where do you put all that online?
I think we might make a book,
Yeah,
like a coffee table book. We had a photographer in studio. It's it's tremendous. It really is
yeah,
the space like that. And I'm kind of like the older I get or something, or the more technology progresses, I feel like I'm starting to kind of go the other way.
yeah.
So now I'm like, are we going to record an album on tape? You know what I mean? Like that working in a studio like that, it just really reminds you of. And I don't want to knock, like, go make music in your room. It's awesome. Like, make music
Sure.
on the box. And plenty of people are making that. And in the box, I mean, like, the drum beat comes from the computer and the
Yeah,
bass
yeah,
comes
yeah.
from the computer. Like,
You're
but
talking about you're talking about the sound you get from people in the room playing the instruments and
yeah,
singing. Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
vibe and the energy and the groove, like a click, when you're making a song in the box to a click track, like it's more, perfect mathematical, which is
Sure,
great. Our tempos like change as we play, as you get
sure.
excited, and so I guess that like could theoretically be like wrong, or is it like way more interesting? Your heart beats
Yeah,
faster, like
it's right is what it is. It's not
right.
wrong. It's right. It's right. Tell everybody about the band.
The Empty Pockets, man. It's me, my wife Erica, and my two best friends, Nate on the bass and Adam on the drums. Ooh, we just threw out the first pitch at Wrigley.
I saw that. I saw the video. It
Right.
was great.
Adam got it all the way in. He's our best baseball player. But we are finishing our touring with Al Stewart. I love the band. Like the
Sure.
Last Waltz.
Oh my God, yes.
Concert for Will's Place. Like we love backing people up. So our band at this concert for Will's Place will back up all of the acts, just
Right.
like we backed up Al Stewart, who was actually at the show last year. And so we'll keep doing that. We got a little series on YouTube called Pinch Hits because we love baseball and we love backing people up. So each month we have a new artist come in the studio and we back them up. Oh, I got
Well, that's a cool idea. I
yeah,
gotta check that out. I haven't seen it.
yeah, it's really cool. I got a surprise. I'll give you the info before we announce it. Not just the new
Okay.
album title, but our next pinch hit is this dude named Howard Levy, who
Okay.
is like the best harmonica player in the world. He's in Bale of Fleck and the Flecktones. He just lives in Evanston, I guess. But he came in. Really excited to announce that and put that out there in a couple weeks.
Well, but you know what's funny is as great as the Empty Pockets are, and you guys are great. You're the most modest band I've ever met. And you take self-deprecating to a new level. But for all the years you guys have played and played together, you got an incredible network of friends at the highest level of musicianship and talent. Like your sax guy last year, your sax player last year was unbelievable.
Awesome. Yeah, and we were really lucky to tour with Al Stewart for like 10 years. He has a saxophone, so we've met like 5 or 6 great sax players. But we do go out of our way, like if we're playing a cruise, like a rock and roll cruise with 20 acts, like we'll bother everyone.
Sure.
Like you're at the buffet, we're finding, Rick Derringer, and then we're asking him to do something. Or like it's late at night. This was funny, man. We're having nachos. Kenny Aronoff, world famous drummer,
Wow.
comes up. He won't shut up about Tom Brady. We're trying to
Wow.
we're trying to network with everybody. I love musicians, and we're all such a pain in the butt too. It's funny, but I love musicians.
Well, and I love your story too, the band, because you find a band that's lasted as long as you guys. That's a pretty rare thing. And I'm sure you fight and I'm sure you disagree at times. But if I remember right, Erica played on that Buddy Holly tribute back in the day.
You sure did.
And that's when you met her, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nate and I were in a Buddy Holly tribute. I played Buddy. My hair was so different,
Yeah,
and
mine too.
and that's 20 years ago, which is pretty nuts now. But yeah,
So
like
I was going to say, do all the decisions for the band ultimately fall to you? Because somebody's got to be in charge.
yeah, like I'm the leader, but we are a painful democracy, just like democracy in real life. It's always slows everything down and makes everything really hard and
Are you guys
emotional.
okay with that? What do you think? I'd like to do it this way. What do you guys think? Is it one of those?
No, it's more like I want to listen to everybody's take, but I also want to go so fast that
Right.
it's more like people are like, "What's happening tomorrow, Josh? And are you sure we should be doing this?" Is most of our vibe.
Right.
And it's funny, like we do is if we'll do like a co-headlining show with a solo artist,
Right.
we might be talking backstage and be like, "Man, it's like so convenient, right? Like being alone. No, you don't have to ask. You don't have to hear everybody else's opinion. You don't have to combine all of your taste together."
Sure.
And
Sure.
then the solo artist is always like, "Oh, it's so lonely, and you never know what's good or not. You never have anybody pushing you forward, and it's like the grass is always greener." I think it's hard being in a band, and it's hard not being in a band.
Well, I mean, the boys, obviously Erica is your wife in your life, but the boys have got to be like brothers to you after all these years.
Oh my God. And now they have children. So
Yeah.
it's like I have these like nieces and nephews in my life. We're a kids band, in that way
Right.
now, which is
Right. Right.
awesome. Like we got kids on stage, on tour sometimes in the UK, like at Abbey Road. It's changed the vibe. You get older and all
Well, you
that
grow.
changes.
You
Yeah.
grow with the band, and the band grows with you.
Yeah. We
So,
write about different stuff now.
yep, yep, because your life changes. Will's Place, the concert for Will's Place is Thursday night. If you're in the Chicago area, we're recording this on July 6th. We're talking about July 9th. 6:30 doors, 7:30 the show starts. You're going to have a great couple of hours. The Empty Pockets never leave the stage. They back everybody up. They're going to play a lot of their own stuff as well. And I will do whatever it is I do. And hopefully my brother will stay up past his bedtime.
Boy, that would be
Uh,
pretty cool.
yeah, no, yeah, you'd love to meet him.
It's
He's a
funny, man, because Will is also does not like he's staying up past his bed. Will's like an 8 o'clock, 8:30, and he likes to
likes a
pretend.
routine.
He likes to pretend sometimes he could stay up and no, he's an early riser.
He likes the routine. And please say hi to your mom. I think
I will.
she's an amazing woman. You don't want to say no to her.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
And she, along with family members and her own heavy business connections, is make this thing a reality. So Will's Place is located where, the actual diner?
It's in Skokie, right? It's on Lincoln Avenue in downtown Skokie, right across from the Skokie Theater. Skokie
Yep.
itself, they've been amazing.
Yep.
They've continued to support. I think we have local federal congresswoman Jan Schakowsky is going to
Yeah.
come say a few
Okay, great.
words.
Great.
The whole Illinois has been very supportive. I think, especially like in this
Mhm.
time politically, like everything's so divisive and just like brutal that it is so nice to be like, okay, we're going to take away support for this or whatever. Like, let's just do it ourselves instead.
Well, and I've said this on the air, for years, and I've said it publicly and privately, and I know you feel the same way. If you don't take care of those who most need a little bit of help in life, that's not a reflection on them; it's a reflection on you.
Yeah.
And it's the ultimate failure of a society of alleged normal, healthy people to fail in that regard.
Yeah.
So
It's
you're not
crazy.
failing, and we aren't either. So we got to keep up the good work. For everything the Empty Pockets do, where do you want them to go?
TheEmptyPockets.com. You can get tickets to anything we do there, including Concert for Will's Place. We'll announce our new album, and then just you can follow us anywhere. It's all The Empty Pockets.
Man, you guys got to join the VIP. Who knows where the band's going to take you next?
I
Come
mean, it
on.
is pretty unbelievable. Maybe I want to go to
Pretty
Muscle
cool.
Shoals. That's my next goal.
I've been. They didn't let me play because I can't, but it's pretty great. Yeah, it's pretty great. All right, my friend. We will talk later this week, but great job as always.
Dude, I love
And
you. Thank you, man.
you're the best. TheEmptyPockets.com.
.com, sir.
TheEmptyPockets.com. A link for Will's Place there as well. And we continue on Live from My Office. All right, as I mentioned in the post, it's a twofer on Live from My Office. And I want to talk to two of my favorite people because they're fighting the good fight for the rest of us. On screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the smiling face of my one-time producer, who fortunately is now out of show business and doing something significantly meaningful with his life. It's Jared Burton, who is a part of Serenity House, community liaison, for lack of a better term, and he'll explain in greater detail. And the other box you'll see, or you'll certainly hear his voice, is Keith Burton. And Keith is an unbelievably deep thinking, creative guy. And I think we bonded on dad stuff right away because Keith and Jared have walked a particular walk that families don't want to go through. The good news is Jared is clean and sober. Keith has had his own battles in the past, and you're a united family like never before. And I'm sure you thank God for that every day, right, Keith?
Yes, I do. I certainly do, Steve. It's been quite a journey. And, 2 years ago, as you and I had the conversation, I wrote this book called Shadows of Sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I wrote it is that I wanted to have a memoir of growing up a child of an alcoholic. When I wrote the book, I really thought it would be for me and other children of alcoholics as a part of the audience that I was thinking about. But it's been so much more than that for me. What I've learned over the past 2 years is that when I tell the story of listening as a child and becoming an adult long before I needed to, as my parents fought in the early hours of the night,
Yep.
or when I describe, living in constant fear of what might happen between my parents and in my family, or when I explain having developed panic attacks, not only when I was a teenager, but also even as an adult, including in recent years when my wife became ill, and when I write about always trying to protect everyone, which was my job to be the watchman during that time, to have greater responsibility and to become an adult earlier, people don't say, my father drank too. What they say
Yep.
to me is, that's me. And I found this as I've gone around not only doing podcasts like yours and other shows, but also being in temples and in churches and going to
Sure.
libraries and all the places I've gone. It's been a very, very important discussion for me. And I've learned so very much about myself in this process.
Yeah, and it's a path that we unfortunately share, and no child should have to go through it. But as you know, Keith, I had an ulcer at the age of 5 from the tension in my house, and I remember vividly my mother going, "Oh, it's probably I make too many spicy foods." No, it's probably because the police come every weekend and separate you and dad. So it's a battle, but you pay it forward by doing what you're doing. Jared's struggles almost took his life, and you were able to pull out of it. Jared, I mean, I've said this about my brother, and I'll say it about you, and I'll say it about everybody. Your dad can't love you enough. I can't love my brother enough to save him. You have to decide to save your life. Do you remember when that moment was?
I do. And Steve, thanks for having us back. I do like to say to people that once you enter the fraternity of Steve Cochran producers, you never really leave. It's sort of like the CIA or the mafia or something.
Or
So
Yale or Harvard without the
sure, that
benefits.
too.
Yeah. I got you.
But no, so I just want to touch on something you said real quick, where you said, no amount of hoping and praying for our loved ones, to want to get clean can work. I tell people you can't cry us sober. I think I want to trademark that. So if you want to go in on that,
It
we can make
actually
some
is good. Yeah.
t-shirts. But it's true. I mean, think about all the times that family members have had those teary conversations about, you have to change, you're gonna die, you're going down this path. I'm telling you, when you're in the midst of that illness, when you're in the midst of that disease, of that active addiction, no amount of love or support or anything is really going to get you there unless you hit that bottom point. And as I've talked about on this pod, I'm lucky I hit mine. There wasn't one particular thing. It just was a series of things over the course of years where I hit a point, Steve, where I was like, look, if I don't do something, I know for a fact that I'm going to die from this. And it was one of those kind of spiritual awakenings that I had to have. I had to hit numerous bottoms. I say I had a few different rock bottoms to choose from. It just depends
Uh-huh.
on which one you're interested in hearing about that day. But you're right. It's you have to hit your own moment. You have to get to that point because no amount of familial love will get you there. It helps, but it won't get you across the finish line.
Yeah, and addiction doesn't care. Addiction does not care. Doesn't care how rich you are. Doesn't care how poor you are. Doesn't care if you're educationally enabled, if you're academic, or if you're someone who can read a book. We lost, since we all last talked, my youngest cousin that I grew up with, who was this remarkable lady who got into a bad marriage. And as a side effect of the bad marriage, fell into the bottle and was never able to get out. And her son, 21 years old, brilliant kid, hockey player, model good looks, and got the world on a string. And he went to her and said, please, you're going to die. And she said, I can't quit. And
Yeah.
he's not at an age, even at 21, to fully understand that was not a repudiation of him. That was where she was with the disease. Sadly, she fell, blacked out on a cruise, hit her head, and died at a hospital in Curacao this past spring at 58 years old. And this is somebody who had no money, who started a vintage clothing store, opened 3 or 4, flipped them into real estate. Tremendous success. So on the outside, what people show is not what's going on in their head and their heart. So let me continue with you, Jared, on your personal journey, because it's always been my experience too, that unless you've walked the walk, it's hard for an addict to actually hear what you have to say. I mean, is that universally true in your business?
In my experience, yes, and I call it finding that authenticity when you're able to make a connection with somebody. Maybe it's not always fair. I think there's a lot of people who get into this field with great intentions, but I think the people who are the most successful that I've seen are those who have been able to use their own lived experience in this stuff. So, it's not every day that I'm talking to people about my own recovery, but I do it a lot. And I can't tell you, like my dad mentioned with his book, just Steve, the amount of times people have come up to me and said, listen, I haven't felt confident talking about my recovery, not only from substance use, but from mental health stuff too. That's the other thing we come across is
100%.
people willing to talk now about their own recovery from, let's say, alcohol or opiates, but just don't feel great yet talking about the depression or the anxiety.
Yeah, and Keith, let's talk about those stigmas from a parent perspective, because you and I, on Team Codependent, where we try to make everything right for everybody else. But the problem with that is that from the outside view, if you have not struggled with a family member or somebody you love going through this, it's really easy to judge. And whether you get it directly and verbally or by a look or a glance or somebody said this or that, it's really hard to hear, because God bless you if you don't know or love somebody that's gone through this, but you have no idea what you're talking about until you do. It's a similar thing.
The deepest wounds are often those that are invisible, as you know. And I've told the story previously, and I'll tell it again. I had a 10-hour car ride with Jarrett. I picked him up at his work, and we went together to go pick up a golden retriever, our golden retriever now in Iowa. And I told him, Steve, in that car ride, that I wanted to know everything about his addiction, everything. We'd never had that conversation before. And for that 10-hour drive, 5 hours down, 5 hours back, we talked about this. I never understood the depth of his pain until he told me that day. That's not because we didn't have a close relationship. It's just that these things were not something that he felt comfortable talking about. And so we had a long conversation about it. I understood his time as being unhoused in the city of Chicago, when he would transit from Ashland Avenue over to the airport, most nights sleeping on the L because he didn't have a place to sleep. He had been kicked out of the bar where he was living over, and he didn't have the ability to go back into a place to live again. And so, as a father, you can imagine how my wife Sue and I felt in hearing this story for Jarrett and what he'd been through, and how he finally made the decision. Because my wife and I prayed for him many times, as I'm sure you've done with your brother,
Sure.
that God would really find him and take him to a place and then allow him to recover again. And that's what happened for him. And he finally reached a point, as he told me, where I felt like other people had a better idea of how I could recover than I did. And I was going to listen more now as I went forward. And I think that's been the key for him. And Serenity House has been the key for that, as well, as he found his calling there in terms of his work, and as someone who was a client at Serenity House when he went through his recovery process. So I can only understand what other parents feel, because they talk to me about it very often. Many of them are carrying stories that no one would suspect, but they come up to me often when I come out to speak about my book, and they want to talk to me about their children and what they're experiencing now and how they should approach that and what they should do. And I always tell them, I can't speak to you about your child. What I can tell you is that I've learned lessons about how not to judge appearances, because we just never know what someone's going through until we really have the ability to reach them and to, as Jared said, to have an authentic conversation with somebody about what they're going through in their life.
Yeah, and I would say too, it's a little different from your perspective, I suppose, because you go to these places and you speak as an author and a dad, so maybe you get approached differently. But few years ago, a Gold Star dad who had lost his son in Afghanistan. I said to him on the air, what do people say to you? And he said, well, they mean well, but too often they say what happened. And what a Gold Star parent wants to hear is, tell me about your son.
Yeah.
Tell me about your daughter. And I would assume that's safe advice to give to people if you run into somebody whose child has addiction and go, well, tell me about him. How's he doing? Tell me about the good stuff, that kind of thing. That's empowering, I would think.
I think that's great advice to really learn about the person, to learn about what their life has been like and what they've accomplished. Jared had, as you know, because you worked with them, a very accomplished life, as a young adult and as a young professional. And I've considered his life to be a great life throughout. I've never considered the 20 years, for those who don't know, Jared's been through 20 years of addiction and recovery. And he's been 8 years now, going on 9 years in that recovery process of being clean. And it's an amazing life he's had, and the results that have come as on the basis of his work through Serenity House and working with NARCAN and the other things that he does have been amazing in terms of the people that have been saved as a result of who he is. That to me matters more than anything that he's done.
100%. No, 100%. And let's talk about that for a second, because the work you do at Serenity House is statistically proven to be incredibly important with you and the folks you work with. I know drug overdose fatalities are down statistically. That's right.
Yeah, so when my organization started up a few years ago, we kind of took stock of what was going on in the county, DuPage County, as far as, hey, what are we doing well, and then what are the gaps?
And
And
by the
what
way,
we
for people
found,
listening around the country, Cook County and DuPage County are giant counties.
huge,
And yeah, there's tons of people, and
about a
pretty
million
dramatic.
people.
Yeah, so it's a lot of folks to deal with.
Yeah, so and it's very much it's the wealthiest county in the state. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about what actually happens out here. And what I ran into is people thinking we did not have an overdose problem in DuPage County. We very much did. We just like any area in in the country, overdose rates are higher, especially with the rise of synthetics like fentanyl. So I realized, what can I do better to get more Narcan, which reverses overdoses into the hands of people. So we started this about 3 years ago with a free wall box program. So I go out and I find partner sites that'll host free Narcan boxes.
And this could
So they're
be a
kind of like
retail outlet or a community centered place, could be a baseball field. I don't know, wherever, right?
libraries, social services, yeah, you name it. There's a ton out there. And just through that partnership alone with our health department, we were able to distribute last year about 6,000 doses of Narcan.
Wow.
The thing that's tough to track is if somebody uses it, we ask, if they did have to use it, to get in contact with us to let us know. But yeah, overdose rates have gone down. I'm talking fatal overdose rates have gone down about 15% this year, which,
That's huge.
is a
Huge.
huge amount. But what's interesting, Steve, and maybe we can keep an eye on this moving forward, the younger age ranges, so the 18s have gone way down. The 18 to 25s have gone way down. Do you know what started to go up higher is 30 to 50 and the 60 and above. We're seeing that with prescriptions for some of our older folks. We have seen accidental overdoses because of ingestion of prescriptions, so we're looking at some messaging
Wow.
for that age group this year. So we're making headway. I say it's never a good time to do a victory lap, but yes, I'd like to think that we're getting those numbers down to a much more manageable level.
We talked about stigmas briefly. Talk about the stigmas that you hear, see, and face every day, including the stigma and the falsehoods about using Narcan.
So I'll tell you about Narcan. I'll tell you the first one. When I go out and try to give Narcan away, if somebody's hip, they know what's going on, of course they'll take it. But sometimes I'll see people like recoil. Like they hear about Narcan as it relates to fentanyl and other things, so they just immediately assume that no, I want nothing to do with that stuff. That type of thinking keeps you from maybe Narcaning someone out in the community if you were to come
Right.
across somebody who is in an overdose state. Another area, Steve, I want to tell you just so I can mention this, that I do face a lot of stigmas, not only Narcan, but also sober living, the need for like sober living options and supportive housing out here. We do some advocacy and outreach in that regard, and I've gone to a number of city council meetings, chambers of commerce meetings, without identifying who I am and what I've gone through. And I hear some very interesting takes on what people think sober living is, the types of people who are engaging and living in sober living options. And so I think that sometimes the stigmas, we don't even hear them. It's what we hear in those closed door groups,
Yeah, and it's what
where
people are
it's
saying to each other on Facebook or whatever, maybe not even on social media, but it's the lies we tell each other that make the problem last longer.
100%. So it's just fighting those stigmas when we come across them. And if you were to see me and not know me, that story my dad told you about 20 years of addiction, I mean, you probably maybe would never guess. And so it's important for me to go out and be able to do stuff like this and show you like I was there. I was in those situations. I managed to pull myself out of them.
Yeah, the excuse making that goes on with somebody newly in recovery is one of the big hurdles to get over, and to have somebody that can look you in the eye and go, "Okay, you and I both know that's bullshit," and you're going to either decide to get on board here and do this, or you're going to, continue the problem. It's much more effective than mom or dad or your best friend or whomever. You guys at Serenity House, you did a video about what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, so the past couple of months, we did some videos about just the need for sober living. So I was fortunate enough to get interviewed. We did a campaign on it, hopefully change some minds. But what we're excited about, and I'll maybe let my dad tell a bit more because he helped set it up, but CBS came out last month and actually interviewed us both out there. And so I think on Friday we'll get the date and time. You'll be able to see it on CBS because we shot at Serenity House. So you'll see all
Cool.
kinds of great visuals, and it should be a good interview.
Yeah, CBSChicago.com, I think, is their website because I'm sure the story will live on there
Yep.
indefinitely. What did you talk about, Keith, when you sat down?
We talked about two things. We talked about my experience with the book and also what I've learned in going out and speaking about my memoir and what people told me, but more importantly, what also I've learned about Jared in this process. And it's been an incredible amount in terms of who he is and what he's doing in his life now. So we had long conversations around how we've come together in recent years and how we do things together, both as a father-son, which is important to me because we've always been close, but even closer in recent years,
Sure.
and what Jared's going through now. And it gave me, Steve, a lot of pride to see him walk down that hallway with Suzanne Lamignot and her cameraman, and to go into one of the rooms and to say to her as he was doing the filming, I actually was living in one of these rooms a few years ago.
Wow.
I was unhoused, and the thing that I was most grateful for was to have a place to lay my head out of the rain and off of the L, and to be here where I could find food and community and shelter and all the things that I have here, and to be there listening to your son who grew up in the way that Jarrett did, and to know everything that he's been through gave me such a tremendous sense of pride of who he's become in these recent years.
Yeah, God bless him. And that is a great story to tell. And I look forward to seeing it wherever you are around the country, or even in Fiji, where I know we have listeners for Live from My Office because I looked at the data. Um, please check that out, CBS Chicago. Boy, I hope I'm right about that. You can Google
Okay.
it if not, but it's cbschicago.com, I believe. And look for that video. And Suzanne Lemignot's a terrific reporter and an anchor, and I'm glad she did that particular story. Keith, remind people about the book again before we run out of time.
It's Shadows of Sobriety, Journey of Self-Discovery and Healing a Family Legacy. I wrote it because I'd gone through a period of time, Steve, where I had to actually seek therapy because of these panic attacks that returned to me in recent years. And as I did, I made the decision that I wanted to write about my experiences growing up with a father who was an alcoholic. And in so doing, it allowed me really to go back and reconnect with so many memories that I had of my life growing up in Texas. It gave me permission to do one thing too, and that was to allow other people to tell their stories as a result of what I have done with this book. As I mentioned earlier, I've gone out over the past year in so many places with groups of many different sizes, meeting with them, and they always, at the end of it, they don't come up and talk to me about the writing. They don't come up and talk to me about something esoteric. They want to talk about what they experienced with
Sure.
their mother, their spouse, their addiction, their anxiety, and their shame And they tell me about these things that happened to them. The young man who was the IT director for one of the largest banks in the state of Tennessee, who told me about being molested by his uncle along with his cousin when he was a child, and how it affected him so dramatically as a part of his life. The friend of mine who I grew up with 50 years ago in high school, who told me that her mother beat her unmercifully as an alcoholic, and how that affected her in her life, and she never told anyone until she talked to me about it. A client of mine in Boston who told me about his experiences of his father using a leather belt as a whip on him many days, and how it affected him and his brother, who lost his life, by the way, as a result of having an addiction. These are stories that I'll never forget, because I can connect to them and I can relate to them fully. And it's really been less a story about me, but rather opening the door for others to finally have a voice, Steve, to talk about
And
their
it's
experiences,
it's
as you and I talked
unbelievable.
about before.
The emotional release opens doors that lead to other doors being opened that completely change people's lives. So
Yeah.
I thank you for doing it. Again, Shadows of Sobriety. It's not available everywhere, right?
No, it's available at Amazon.com and on BarnesandNoble.com. You can find it in many, many places on Google, for
Okay.
example. So it's readily available. And I've heard from people throughout the world who've read the book, who write to me and want to talk with me about it. And I'm really happy that it's had the impact. For those who don't know, we know statistics show us that 1 out of every 5 men and women grew up with an adult alcoholic, an alcoholic in their family, either a father or mother or a family member. And it had a dramatic effect on so many of them who can relate to these stories.
I'm going to give you the last word, Jarrett, before we wrap up, but we will obviously talk again. And, you sent me a text the other day, kind of sheepishly, about, hey, would you be interested? I'm always interested in what you guys have to say. Don't ever worry about asking. And if I can do it, I'll tell you. But this is too important. This information is way too important. So last word, what do you want to say?
Last word. I think sometimes secrets can lead to more sickness. So if you are somebody who's been struggling, you don't have to do it in the dark. There are so many different treatment options now that weren't even available 5, 10 years ago. So if you're somebody who hasn't tried it, or you have tried it and maybe it didn't take, feel free to reach out. We'll give Steve contact info. I'm there to pick up the phone, whatever you guys need. And be sure to get NARCAN trained if you haven't been already.
It's vitally important. And we'll put those notes that you give me in the show notes that you can click on. And my friend. And Keith, one dad to another, you're doing great work. Keep it up.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, how do you feel about yourself now, Steve, and those of you watching and listening? The amazing thing about talking to Josh and also talking to Jarrett and his dad, Keith, those are people that are paying it forward and are doing things for other people. And I hope you're one of them as well in your own life. If you're inspired at all by these stories, and you can make it out to the concert for Will's Place, or pick up the book, Shadows of Sobriety, or have that hard talk with somebody you love about how you can't fix them or cure them, but I'll drive you to Serenity House. I'll call for you and connect you. Those are all the things that really matter. When it comes to a sober life living and your own mental health, you don't snap out of it. It doesn't just go away. And for people to expect you to snap out of it, or when they say to you, why can't you love me enough to quit? It's not you, it's the disease. But don't use the disease as a crutch. Use the disease as an inspiration to live. You're too important. So make that move as well. Check the show notes for other information about these two fine guests. And also, we got we could use a laugh, I suppose. Stand-up comedy coming up August 7th at the Bolingbrook Golf Club with Mike Toomey from Channel 9, Tim Benker, and me. CochranShow.com for all that I'm up to, and tickets and information there. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening wherever you listen. Follow, share, check out the new Substack, where I give you my take on flying the flag and why it's vitally important. And it doesn't mean you support Orange Julius Caesar or any other bad politician. In the meantime, I'm Steve Cochran. We'll see you next time. I'm live from my office. Oh, and you thought I forgot, but I didn't. Thank you, Ross Cochran. Ross Cochran produces all of it. All of it. Even gave me that sign. Where's that sign? It's Welcome to Pop's Place. Yeah, that's from Ross. All right, get it.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.